Kooky Tucker Carlson, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
But it's also going to end, I believe, Trump's presidency and effectively end it. There's a whole other question, which is how prepared is the U.S. military for a real conflict? And the answer is totally unprepared. Scary unprepared. I don't think people understand that.
Donald Trump just completely fractured his base. And he did it for the very neocons who minted the Never Trump movement. President Trump dropped a bomb, but it wasn't on Iran yet. He posted this about Tucker Carlson on Truth and got some backlash from the MAGA community. We'll go through it, but the tweet, or the truth rather, from the president said, "Somebody please explain to kooky Tucker Carlson that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon." And everybody went, "What? What was that all about, Mr. President?" Turns out Tucker was talking with Steve Bannon over the day yesterday, had a couple of interesting points about what is happening right now in our country, including the fact that we don't want to be in another foreign war. So Tucker was talking with Bannon about this over on War Room. Here's a short clip of what Tucker had to say.
I actually really love Trump. I think he's a deeply humane, kind person. And I am saying this because I'm really afraid that my country's going to be further weakened by this. I think we're going to see the end of American empire. Obviously, other nations would like to see that, and this is a perfect way to scuttle the USS America on the shoals of Iran. But it's also going to end, I believe, Trump's presidency and effectively end it. And so that's why I'm saying this.
What do you mean by that?
You get, look, I knew Bush. I knew George W. Bush. We had, family connections to Bush. I knew Bush. Personally, I still see Bush sometimes. And, of course, he hates me, and he does because I criticized him on Iraq. And that war is the sum total, from a historical perspective, of his administration. But I knew him, and he had all kinds of plans for the things that he wanted to do. But once Domestically, right, to improve the country.
Right.
And you may agree or disagree, but, in his mind, he wasn't just about the invasion of Iraq in March of 2000.
Oh, no. He was going to redo Social Security.
100%,
He had all that, all
100%.
Types of. He was going to take care of the entitlements issue.
And he really thought it was going to work.
Yep.
And you could laugh at that or whatever, but the point is, the second you get enmeshed in a real war, not a fake, let's go bomb the villagers and declare success, though we don't even have a good track record. Why are the Houthis still there?
No,
there's a whole other question,
right,
which is how prepared is the U.S. military for a real conflict? And the answer is totally unprepared. Scary unprepared. I don't think people understand that. But anyway, the only reason I'm saying any of this is because I really, really care. And it's been, what a disaster for me personally. I mean, it's like the last thing I wake up, all these texts, well, I can't believe you're so evil, you hate this or that. I just want to restate, I don't hate anybody. And to the extent I do hate people, I try to repent of it. I don't want to hate anybody. I really don't. I just don't want my country to be further weakened or destroyed by another one of these wars. And boy, if you can't connect the dots after 25 years of this shit, you're either too dumb to participate in the conversation, or you're, like Mark Levin, just a liar who doesn't care.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's like one of these things is not like the others. It's like we had a lot of problems with Afghanistan, disaster. A lot of problems with Iraq, disaster. Having a lot of problems with Ukraine and Russia, disaster. Trying to get involved in that. We're going to see probably another front open up with China, Taiwan. Get ready for that one. Our own border has been a disaster, right? And all of these policies have failed, but this new one, because it involves Israel and Iran, is going to be amazing. And it's all in American interest. And all of the Israeli flags are perfectly appropriate. I'm waiting to see an Israeli flag on the House of Representatives floor, like they dragged out the Ukraine flag and waved that around for all of us. But the point is, can you connect the dots? Are you allowed to just say, hey, maybe America has learned its lesson over the last 25 years about a lot of this, and we don't want to get overly invested in this conflict. Now, again, a lot of this I think might be premature because we don't really know where this is going, right? We heard Dave Smith and other people coming out saying Trump should be impeached immediately. Like, we've already seen enough actions by the Trump administration that justify impeachment and removal of the president, as though, this will get handed to J.D. Vance and the rest of, the party, and then things will be different or anything like that. I don't see that happening. But the point is, what has Trump done specifically, right? He hasn't put boots on the ground. We've sent some tankers over there. I think we're helping with the defense systems and other things like that. But is that the line that you cross, or is it boots on the ground, or is it dropping bunker bombs, or where are we at specifically that is going to cross that threshold over which there is no return, right? Over which, okay, now it's our problem. Now it's our Iraq. Now it's our Afghanistan. Now it's our Ukraine, essentially, and so on and so forth, right? And when Taiwan happens, that's going to be all us too. Like, make no mistake about it. So are we going to cross that threshold? Have we crossed it already? Are we there yet? Are we going to cross that threshold? Maybe Trump is just hitting hard, supporting hard right now, but that's going to be the end of it. Maybe we're already at max capacity from the administration. That is a possibility too. But that is what Tucker said. I've got some other clips from him, but Trump posted, Tucker is kooky and Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. But people on Truth were defending Tucker, and there was MAGA backlash out there. Look at all these posts. Where we go one, we go all says, Tucker is right. America doesn't want another war. You posting a few minutes ago that people should evacuate Tehran, implying that something is going to happen, is not peace through strength. Let Israel fight its own wars. Leave America out of it completely. We didn't vote for this. Someone else says, Tucker is the opposite of a kook. Please don't start this again. He could be a very level-headed advisor. Don't listen to Lindsey Graham. Now there's the kook. This person says Trump is the best ever. Someone else says my country is America, not my country, Israel. And here's more from Hey Jude. Not my flag, not my war, also not my flag. Cece says, I agree with Tucker Carlson. Don't betray your base. Jen, we did not vote for this. Leave Tucker alone. Your judgment is being clouded by warmongers. You still have crap heads all around you. Someone else, Anna, you got elected thanks to Tucker and Elon, especially with independence. Why would you crap on the people that helped you, right? And it goes on and on. So there is an aggressive backlash. True Social, right? Trump's own platform. So if you're going to see, I think, a real cross-section of his base, it's right here. This one, Tucker is not kooky. Tucker Carlson, people who love and promote violence always face consequences in the end. He says, I'm not anti-Israel, far from it. Tucker talks about how much he loves Israel all the time. He's like, I've been there. It's a great country, beautiful people, lots of his friends. And he's not an anti-Semitic person just because he doesn't want America involved in a highly escalated conflict with Iran. Not what we're looking for. So Trump also posted some other things. Says we now have complete control over the skies. Iran had a good sky trackers and other defensive equipment and plenty of it, but it doesn't compare to American-made, conceived, and manufactured stuff. Nobody does it better. And Trump's been posting a lot, but in response to the kooky comment, there's about 7.4 thousand comments, was what I saw. 7.41 thousand comments, and a lot of them, basically all of them, are pro Tucker. Now, he also got some response on this from people across the X sphere. Real Candace Owens said this, Donald Trump just completely fractured his base. And he did it for the very neocons who minted the Never Trump movement. Truly unbelievable. And we'll see if it's actually a fracture. I'm not so sure that it's a permanent fracture. You see there's some backlash on Truth about it. And we'll see if the president moderates or modulates this thing a bit further. But as it stood yesterday, he was not happy with Tucker. Here's what Trump said when he was out at the G7.
Tucker Carlson criticizing you, saying that you were complicit in the war.
I don't know what Tucker Carlson is saying. Let him go get a television network and say it so that people listen.
And quickly,
Thank you.
Mr. President!
Before your bylaws, Tucker Carlson.
Get a television network? TV is dying, Mr. President. This is the new media era of new informational supply chains being created in real time. So we understand Trump doesn't like to get criticized by anybody. And so this is kind of like that instinctual reaction coming back. But the base is not happy about it. Here's what Luke Rudowski said over from Tim Pool's crew. Said, hey, I'm sorry, but Tucker Carlson wanting peace is not wrong. And Luke, of course, has his own platforms, but you see him regularly on with Tim Pool as well. Laura Loomer comes out and she is against Tucker. Laura Loomer says, Donald Trump is officially done with Tucker Carlson. I don't know. Says, don't take money from Arabs and become blinded by irrational hatred for Jews and Israel like Tucker did. It's like, what? Tucker's whole reputation just imploded. I don't think so, because he decided to sell out to shady Arabs who bought his mouth. Whoa! Right? So you see this fracture and this fissure happening now. And so people are split. You got Mark Levin, Laura Loomer, and a lot of pro-Israel people Tucker, it's not even being anti-Israel. It's just we don't want to be involved in Iran. Do what you got to do with Iran. Why do we got to get involved in it? That's, I think, the line there. Marjorie Taylor Greene came out. She said, Tucker Carlson is one of my favorite people. He fiercely loves his wife, children, and our country. Since being fired by the neocon network called Fox News, he has more popularity and viewers than ever before. He unapologetically believes the same things I do, that if we don't fight for our country and our own people, then we will no longer have a country for our children and our grandchildren. And foreign wars, intervention, and regime change puts America last, kills innocent people, makes us broke, and will ultimately lead to our destruction. That's not kooky. That's what millions of Americans voted for, and it's what we believe is America first. So strong response to this. We also saw Lindsey Graham came out and was doing the opposite of this. He's saying, if we got to provide bombs, we provide bombs. If we got to fly planes, we fly planes. It doesn't matter what we need to do, right? This warmonger maniac who has been basically saying this type of stuff my entire life is just copying and pasting what he was screaming when he was over there in Kyiv in Ukraine.
Well, I take President at his word. He gave Iran 60 days to do a deal. On the 61st day, we are where we are. There's two ways to stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon. One is diplomacy, the other is force. I think the headline tonight is we're moving into the land of force. I think Iran has allowed themselves to be fooled into thinking they could manipulate Trump. Same old tactics with the wrong guy when it comes to Trump. To all those who voted for President Trump and got him in office, God bless you. He's the right guy at the right time. These are dangerous times. Why do we say no nuclear weapon for Iran? They're a religious theocracy. They're built around an extreme version of Islam. They want to destroy Saudi Arabia and the Sunni branch of Islam. They want to kill all the Jews in Israel and come after us. That's what their whole...
Come after us next. Iran's going to kill all the Jews in Israel and then come after us next. We have seen, okay, I don't know what the hell's going on with their nuclear program. Apparently they were going to have nukes from the very beginning. And we all got duped on the weapons of mass destruction crap the last time we were in the Middle East and America got dragged into that thing for whatever reason. And we have questions about it. We're skeptical about it, right? IAEA can say whatever they want. And we can all analyze that to the end of the day because it's the fog of war. One side says one thing, the other side says another thing. Our Tulsi Gabbard said that their program was winding down. Trump got other intelligence, said she's overridden. We're going to come back on that. But this is the same thing. And if Iran is so capable, like if they're going to get rid of all of the Jews like in 2 weeks because they have nukes at their fingertips about to be deployed, how come they couldn't even defend their cities for like 2 minutes? Took out everything, right? One of the biggest operations, I think that the Israelis said, Rising Lion or whatever it was one of the most successful ever. They had drone factories all over the place, sending drones out across. They took out all their surface-to-air missiles, took out all of their defense apparatus, like eliminated like the heads of the security team, on and on and on. And then Iran is like shooting these firecrackers back over that, not to minimize the deaths and the destruction that has happened there, but the idea is that Iran is this behemoth that's going to wipe out Israel and then come over to the United States. Is that what Graham is saying? Because that's exactly what he said with Putin. It's the same thing. It's just a different country and a different flag.
Country is built upon a theocratic view that there's nobody else in the world but them when it comes to worshiping God. If they had a nuclear weapon, they would use it. Israel believes that.
It's the same skin. It's just a different character, right? So rather than Putin and the Russians, now it's the Ayatollahs and the Iranians. Like, we got it from Lindsey Graham. It's the same shtick. It's just copy and pasted. Again, we would like to know what America's direct interests are. Like, other than the platitudes of, you're going to get a nuclear bomb shoved in one of your cities. It's like, all right. It may not be a platitude. Like, maybe that's the real thing and some evidence of that. That's what they're claiming. That's what their justification is. That's why Netanyahu comes out and says, we are going to take care of this so you don't have dead Americans. And if we don't take care of this, I guess that implies that there will be dead Americans. So maybe Trump is seeing some of that intel. We're not seeing it, but it's the same pattern. It's the same consistent persuasion that has gotten us into all of these foreign conflicts. And we all lived through it after 9/11. And I remember being in high school saying, we have to go protect America, fight them over there, all that type of crap. And look what that got our country in the long run. Nothing. All right, so that is from Graham. Now, we also had this clip from Tucker, and he was just explaining to Bannon, we're living in a post-coup country, right? We don't want to live in a democracy, so-called, that's run by the oligarchs, who are the neocons, who are the people that control the media, control the military-industrial complex. All the parties come together when it's time to go to war. Notice that? All of them. Doesn't matter what it is. Ukraine, Israel, whatever. Unless it's our border, then they don't really care about our border. But everybody else's borders they care about.
And they're running the deal.
We can't get the Kennedy files out 62 years later. And by the way, somebody murdered the president of the United States and lied about it for 60 years, okay? And we still can't get those files. There are thousands of documents that have not been released as of today. And everyone seems to
all of it related to somehow CIA activity or CIA suppressing information with the FBI.
Not just CIA, okay? So we're living in a post-coup country.
The coup
Everything that
yes,
happened
after that.
Post-1963, every elected official, certainly every official elected at the national level, lives with that hanging over him. They took out this guy, and whoever did it is so powerful that we can't even know today. When John McCone is 50 years in the grave, head of the CIA, then everyone's gone, and we still can't find out exactly what happened today.
Sources and methods.
They don't even say that anymore. They don't say anything. They're just like, oh, we released it. No, you didn't. You lie. You lie. I know. I'm from here. I know. So I do think there's a sense in which some of our leaders feel the presence of a physical threat. I don't think that. I know it.
Yeah, there's this book called The Machiavellians. Actually, it's called The Machiavellians. I'm looking at it right now. Called Defenders of Freedom. James Burnham wrote it. And he explains in there that basically every form of governance is going to devolve into an oligarchical structure, just to be clear. Doesn't matter if it's a democracy or a republic or whatever. You're going to see remnants of an oligarchy, which are a select few people who just control everything in the world. And we've seen a lot of that occur, right? In countries, communist is supposed to be equality, and it turns into an oligarchy, right? Even in the United States, we see there's like 5 people in our government that are really moving the needle on things, like the president, Speaker of the House, Senate Majority Leader, handful of Supreme Court justices, kind of it, right? The real people who have power. Chief of Staff maybe is another one. But you can see Tucker is saying we don't want to live in a country where those people are making decisions for endless war, no matter what it is, no matter what the cause. Weapons of mass destruction from Saddam Hussein, we got it. Osama bin Laden, also going to bring biological terroristic weapons to the United States. Got it. Then Putin's going to march the Europeans right into the Atlantic and then come to the United States next. Okay, got it. And then now the Ayatollahs are going to come take. Okay, we got it. And it's always a pretext to go in there and engage in these wars. And they would say, see, very successful. Saddam didn't blow up America. Like, oh gosh. All right. So Tucker Carlson is out there. Lindsey Graham is out. Hegseth came out, right? And to say maybe a lot of this is just premature. We haven't seen Trump commit boots on the ground or start dropping bunker bombs yet. Maybe that is to come. But Hegseth was out with Jesse Waters, and he was explaining we're in a defensive posture, and that's going to be the extent of our involvement. So if we're at the apex of this thing, right, like if this is maximum peak, Israel launches their attacks, Trump uses some of the Big Brother shield, right, to protect some of the missiles coming back into Israel. And maybe that's the extent of it. We don't have boots on the ground. Israel does their regime change, and the United States is mostly separated from the whole resorting of the Middle East, if we can be. If that's the extent of it, has that been Trump crossing the Rubicon? Is that what merits an impeachment of the president, or is that so far out of alignment from what he had been talking about during the campaign? As it stands, they say it's defensive. Here was Hegseth.
So you're going to be in the Situation Room pretty soon with the president. Is he still aiming for a nuclear deal with the Iranians?
Of course. President, as he said today, his position has not changed. What you're watching in real time is peace through strength and America first. Our job is to be strong. We are postured defensively in the region to be strong in pursuit of a peace deal. And we certainly hope that's what happens here. And America first means we're going to defend American personnel and American interests. So when you see jets, air defense assets, and counter UAS assets, that's because my job as the Secretary of Defense is to ensure that our people are safe and that we're strong so that we can set the conditions for a deal. And President Trump's made it clear it's on the table. The question is whether Iran will take it.
All right. So the deal is still on the table, but all options are on the table from what it sounds like. What does that look like?
What it looks like right now is we're vigilant. We're prepared. And we've messaged consistently from the beginning that we're in the region to defend our people and our assets. And Israel took an action out of self-defense. We believe that Iran, as President has said from the beginning, should not have a nuclear weapon. That position hasn't changed. They can give it up peacefully. That position hasn't changed. And as a result, right now, we've got assets in the region and we're going to defend them. We're going to be strong in the process. So people are reading into a lot of aspects right now. We're strong. We're prepared. We're defensive. The President Trump hopes there can be peace.
All right. Secretary Hegseth, thank you so much for joining Jesse Watters Prime Time.
Okay, so that doesn't sound escalatory to me, right? That sounds like, hey, we're just being extra cautious about this in case something pops off. We're going to defend our people. Of course, I think the response to a lot of that is people say, well, what happens if they kill an American soldier? Then what? What happens if a bomb goes off and one of our soldiers is now killed? Are we just going to sit by and allow that to go unanswered, or what happens, right? How do you get dragged into the war, I think is the big concern. Now, there was a lot happening yesterday, but this was a post from Sean Parnell. He is the official account for the Secretary of Defense assistant over there and a spokesman for the Pentagon. And he was out yesterday posting about a bunch of fake news that was out there. And this came out from this guy, Dominic Michael Trippi. He posted this. Apparently, Israeli media was reporting that the U.S. was already attacking, right? So this came over from some entity over there. It says, report U.S. attacks Iran. Trump says evacuate Tehran immediately. Channel 14 News is what had that. And he says, that's what they reported. So I just reported that. So Dominic Michael Trippi, he ultimately deleted that post because it was not real. Because Sean Parnell said, this is not true. Okay, we're not attacking Iran. They're claiming in some Israeli media that we are, but we're not. So be clear about that. This is what Sean Parnell said. He was doing this all yesterday. Another one, right? Aviva Klampas shared this, says, breaking, Israeli news says the U.S. is attacking in Iran. He said, this is not true. American forces are maintaining their defensive posture, and that has not changed. We will defend American interests, which I think is all Tucker was asking for. Sean Parnell says American forces are maintaining their defensive posture, and that has not changed. We will protect American troops and our interest, right? So that's the question. Well, what is our interest? Is that Israel? We've also got J.D. Vance coming out today. He says, listen, I'm seeing this from the inside. This is your vice president speaking. And I'm admittedly biased towards our president and my friend. Oh, but there's a lot of crazy stuff on social media. So I wanted to address some things directly on the Iran issue. First, POTUS has been amazingly consistent over 10 years that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Over the last few months, he encouraged his foreign policy team to reach a deal with the Iranians to accomplish this goal. The president has made clear that Iran cannot have uranium enrichment. And he said repeatedly that this would happen one of two ways, the easy way or the other way. Second, I've seen a lot of confusion over the issue of civilian nuclear power and uranium enrichment. These are distinct issues. Iran could have civilian nuclear power without enrichment, but Iran rejected that. Meanwhile, they've enriched uranium far above the level necessary for any civilian purpose. They've been found in violation of their non-proliferation obligations by the IAEA, which is hardly a group of right-wingers. Now, it's one thing to want civilian nuclear energy. It's another thing to demand sophisticated enrichment capacity. And it's still another to cling to enrichment while simultaneously violating basic non-proliferation obligations and enriching right to the point of weapons-grade uranium. JD says, I have yet to see a single good argument for why Iran needed to enrich uranium well above the threshold for civilian use. Well, I think their argument would be if you're an Iranian, you don't want to be Gaddafi'd, right? So if you give up your nukes, then you get a change of regime. So I think it's just regime preservation is their argument. He doesn't think it's a good argument, but that's their argument. And I think, the other side of the Israeli strikes would agree, I think, with that posture. It says, I've yet to see a single good argument for why Iran was justified in violating its non-proliferation obligations. I've yet to see good pushback against their findings from the IAEA. Now, meanwhile, and I don't know about the credibility of the IAEA. I mean, I just know they just basically say that everybody's got nukes and it's coming soon. Happened. We saw this back during Obama. We saw this back before Obama. It's like it's been our whole lives. Meanwhile, and maybe it's here. Like maybe it's like, Rob, it takes 30 years to do it. Now it's been 30 years. So now they finally have their nukes and they're competent and capable and they can attach it to a ballistic missile that will actually strike something without being blown out of the sky. Meanwhile, the president, says JD, has shown remarkable restraint in keeping our military's focus on protecting our troops and protecting our citizens. And now he may decide to take further action to end Iranian enrichment. The decision ultimately belongs to the president. And of course, people are right to be worried about foreign entanglement after the last 25 years of idiotic foreign policy. It's true. Yeah, we're a little skittish, no doubt. But I believe the president has earned some trust on this issue. And having seen this up close and personal, I can assure you that he is only interested in using the American military to accomplish the American people's goals. Whatever he does, that is his focus. And yeah, it's a great comment here from Cassandra McDonald. She's working over for Conservative now and says, are you saying Tulsi and the 18 U.S. intelligence bodies backing the opposite finding 8 weeks ago are wrong or lying? And Trump says he just doesn't really care. He's seen other evidence and he disagrees with Tulsi's characterization. Here's what the president said on the gaggle.
Mr. President, you've always said that you don't believe Iran should be able to have a nuclear weapon. But how close do you personally think that they were to getting one? Because Tulsi Gabbard testified in March that the intelligence community said Iran wasn't building a nuclear weapon.
I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having it.
Okay, so he's the president, right? That's the chain of command. I don't really care what Tulsi said. I saw other evidence. I've talked to other people. I make the final decision. He's allowed to do that. I would, of course, really like to know what that discrepancy is there, right? Because we've seen our intelligence communities lie in many different fashions. Not only the FBI with the J6 stuff or Homeland Security with the J6 stuff or the entire, DC court apparatus covering up for that, but we also saw it with COVID. FBI and the CIA and Homeland Security and the rest of them couldn't even get their handle on where the virus originated from. It's like, well, it looks like it came from Wuhan. We all were sitting here. Looks like it came from Wuhan. And there's a level 4 bioweapons lab there. They were doing gain of function research. Peter Daszak, EcoHealth Alliance, all of them cavorting, sending these samples over there. It didn't come from a wet market over there. Okay, give me a break. But the CIA and the rest of them, like, well, we don't really know. We can't figure it out yet. Give me a break. We know what you guys did. So same thing happening here, right? Why does Tulsi have an opposite conclusion? Why is it natural for the CIA, but the FBI says COVID is lab made, or, they have a disagreement on that? Why is that? What does that intelligence gap look like? Trump is the president. He has the final say in this. So Tulsi has her opinion. Trump has his. We'll see where it goes. I am, of course, extremely hopeful that America does not get involved in this war in the form of dropping bunker buster bombs or putting boots on the ground or engaging in airstrikes or any of those things with our pilots. I understand supporting a friend. I understand sending some resources to make sure that they're not getting bombarded and limiting that to ensure that things don't go too haywire over there. Just kind of like, parent keeping an eye on a kid who's out by the swimming pool. But if it goes further than that, I think that a lot of people are going to have a strong reaction, as we're seeing even from this backlash over on Truth Social. So hopefully Trump and Tucker are able to mend the fences, just like the battle between Trump and Elon. We think these are both good players on our team. They're both starting players. We need them out on the field at the same time. And sometimes players have a disagreement about how these things work. So ultimately, I don't think it's a big riff in the base in terms of fracturing the base. Like, I don't think people are going to abandon Trump in as strong a fashion as many others might be intimating, because Trump still is doing a lot of very, very positive things around the country, right? We look to immigration. We look to a lot of these executive orders and the wasting away of the institutional superstructure the Democrats built over the last 40 years. And so a lot of that is still positive. And a lot of this is just nudging the president. The president came out and reversed his policy on excluding the hotels and the agriculture companies from the immigration raids, right? The base reacted. People jumped on Truth Social, said, no way, Mr. President, don't exempt the hotels. Are you kidding? And of course, that has shifted. So these are the, I think, traditional ebbs and flows of politics. We're not used to seeing them because we spent the last 4 years in the Democratic Party, where they operate according to a liberal orthodoxy. Nobody ever leaves that. So these internal bumps and bruises and battles, I think, are actually a healthy thing. We don't want just absolute uniformity where we have a ton of Lindsey Grahams coming out here and just saying bomb everybody. So we appreciate Tucker We don't think he's a kook at all. And we're hopeful that the president is hearing all of these voices and making the best decision with all the resources that he has. And we pray that he does.